Hi everyone! Thank you for joining us today for our Setting Up Your Store with Weebly webinar. My name is Erin and I am Weebly's community manager. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the steps and give you a little bit of helpful tips and tricks to creating a store. If you use the store tab properly, Weebly can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, which is really nice. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to make a really pretty and really functional store, which is awesome. There's a lot of flexibility there for you. Also, one little tip before we even get started is it's always good to have your images for your products ready before you start with your store. This helps you go a little bit faster, and just so you know, you want to set it to a uniform aspect ratio, which is 3:4 and 4:3. Oh, and Linda says there's actually a cupcakery located in Vegas. That's awesome. See, I'm not the only one with this dream. Yeah, who doesn't want a sweet bakery where they can make cupcakes all day long and see people coming in with smiles on their faces and also leaving with smiles on their faces? So, yeah, you know a little bit about me, and this is my dream, but that's really cool to hear that it's an actual place. Okay, cool. So now that we've gotten our first little tips out of the way, let me just go ahead and start. Ready? Here we go. So you've probably explored Weebly at least a little bit, so you know something about the Build tab. This is where you can drag and drop your different elements. But the first place we're going to go is the Store tab. Let's just explore that a little bit. So if I head to the Store tab, I'm going to see this Getting Started checklist, which is awesome because it gives you specific direction on where to go first. The first thing you want to do here is add a store page, then it directs you to add products, then you want to add store information, and you want to be able to accept payments. There's also a good list of FAQs here if you get stuck, if you need a little help. There's a lot of different resources for you, so don't think you're alone. We definitely want to provide you with the tools to succeed. We're here to help you. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, like it says, number 1 on the list, I want to add a store page. Okay, so I can click this add, and it takes you to the Pages tab. If I didn't click that button, I could have just clicked on the Pages tab, that's fine. So I want to go ahead and click on the store page. I could rename it. Right now I'm just going to leave it named store for the sake of, ease. I could also change the header type. I could have a tall header, a short header, whatever kind of header I want to have. We'll go ahead and leave that for now. I can also change the visibility to make it either in the navigation, or I could also make it password protected, or make it a member or a group thing. However you want to kind of customize just the general page. Obviously the public visibility and having it in your actual navigation is going to allow for the most people to see it. So it allows for maximum exposure, if you will. So I'll go ahead and save this, and just because I like having contact at the end, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that into what I feel like is a better place. Okay, so let's head on over back to our store tab, and you'll see that this add a store page is crossed out. Perfect, we've already got one thing off of our checklist. I don't know about you, but I find it really satisfying when I can check something off of my list, so seeing this crossed out gives me that super amazing instant gratification that I'd crave, honestly. Again, you're learning a little something about me, but that's okay. That's all right. That's what a webinar is for. We're here to talk it out, have some fun. But moving on to our number 2 on the list, we want to go ahead and add products. So there's a few ways that we could do this. Also, let me back up. I didn't necessarily explain that once you click on the store tab, you have a whole other set of navigation options here. And this is kind of what we go through as we go through this list. So this navigation almost parallels this getting started checklist. Okay. So like I said, we're going to add products. We can go ahead and click this add, and you'll see that it has taken us to this product page over here. So a lot of this is self-explanatory, and it gives you a lot of different direction here. So we want to give our product a name. We want to give it a short description, and you'll see that you can format the description slightly. You want to add at least one image, if not a few images of the product. You can choose a product type, so whether it's a physical good, whether it's a digital good, or even a service. You can set the price. You can even set a sale price. So if you enter in a sale price, it will cross out the original price and also list the sale price to kind of show that it's on sale. You can enter in SKU. That's kind of a shopkeeper's unit. It allows you to assign a unique identifier to each option. And like this says, that's completely optional, just like the sale price. You can also add a weight. So that's used for shipping. You can track inventory. It's part of the business plan, which it's going to ask you to upgrade, which I don't have on this account. But you can track inventory. Say that you are homemaking cupcakes and you only have 30 St. Patrick's Day cupcakes. You would want to track that so then you don't oversell yourself. You can also charge sales tax. That's also part of the business package. So you would need to upgrade to add that. And then we have a few more options, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's go ahead and give ourselves a product that we would want to sell on the Cupcakery. Excuse me. So let's say that I wanted to sell a bundle of cupcakes. First of all, we want to be a little specific with our product name because that helps us with SEO or search engine optimization. If you want to learn more about that, we actually have a webinar specifically on SEO that's amazing. But right now, let's focus on the product name. So let's say that this is a holiday related bundle of cupcakes. So maybe I would say Cupcakery holiday bundle. Maybe I would even be more specific. I think Easter is the next holiday, so maybe I would say Easter bundle. And maybe I would say something like treat your loved ones to the most delicious Easter basket available. And then maybe I would describe it a little more. So I'd say a bundle comes with 24 maybe I would say 24 of our most popular cupcakes. And then maybe I would also say random assortment so that people know exactly what they're getting. So they know the number of cupcakes and they also know that it's a random assortment. So it's not all chocolate, it's not all vanilla. They know they're going to get a few things. It is a physical good, so I can go ahead and leave it. And then I want to add the price, right? So for this, let's say, I feel like this is a little cheap for even San Francisco, but let's say $25 for 24 cupcakes. Or let's even say $20. That's a really good deal. Maybe these are small cupcakes. Okay, so we've had our product name. We added a short description. We made sure to note that it was a physical good, and we added the price. So what's next? An image. Let's go ahead and upload an image. So I have a whole fun, super fun little folder for my Cupcakery treats. So let's go ahead and click on this one. And you'll see that it's a good number. And maybe I would add another image here. Let's see, maybe this one. So it just gives your customers a good view of what you are presenting them. Okay, so at this point, that's all I want to do. I don't necessarily want to add a sale price. I don't want to add an SKU or a weight. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up there. So the next is the multiple options. So this is where you can add options like size or color. If you click on this add options, you'll be able to choose a few different things. First, an input type, so you can leave it as a drop-down list. You can do multiple choice, you can do color, or you can do text. Okay, so we will go ahead. Actually, I think this will be the best if we change this back to holiday. Then we'll be able to give them the option of the holiday. We'll still just cupcake. There we go. So that's a little bit better. So if I add the options and then I give it multiple choice, I will be able to label it the option title and actually give the option. So the option title, I'll say a holiday, and then for the options, you'll see that you just separate them with commas. So this is where I could say Easter, St. Patrick's Day, let's see what else, Valentine's Day, and Christmas. Okay, and I just pushed enter when I was done. So I can also add another option. Maybe I wanted like a color choice. Maybe there's a color theme. Okay, this is where I can add those options. So I could say white, green, pink, and you'll see that they're all showing up black. But if I click these, I can actually customize them. And right here we have our own color palette. If I expand it here, you can even create a different color palette. So I can use a hex code if I have something specific, or I can use this even further custom one. So that's not quite white. Let's go to that for white. For green, let's do that. Looks like a St. Patrick's Day green, right? And for pink, let's do like real pink. So you see how I can add different options. I can do a drop-down menu like I showed you here, or excuse me, a multiple choice menu. I can do a color menu. There's a lot of different options. Let me just show you another one. Maybe I wanted to add text. So this is where you would have, say, engraving, or for a bakery like this, maybe this would be like your icing on the top if they wanted to say something there. And you would need to set a max length of characters if you want to have a text option. Okay, but I don't want a text option now, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and then always make sure that you save. And it wants me to upgrade. 1 second, let me upgrade this so I can show you guys. 1 second, please. Okay. So let's do this. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, it's actually not letting me upgrade, which is totally fine. I basically showed you what we would do there. So we would be able to save. Like I said, it's asking me to upgrade, which is fine. But if we didn't, we would save that, and then it would let us add those to our actual product. Okay. We can also add categories, which is just another way of organizing your store. Okay, so within your main store, you could have categories. Say with the Cupcakery, I could have something like cupcake bundles, care packages, and samplers. So maybe those would be 3 different categories I would have, and then I would be able to put products within those categories. So like I said, it gives you a little bit of an organization, and you can see that I've already actually created these categories before. So this is a bundle, so I'll go ahead and click bundle, and then I'll save. And then we can either select these 2 options at the bottom. We can either hide this product, or we can show the product in the storefront. The storefront, which I'll show you in a few minutes, has a lot of different flexibility and customization. So you can either show the categories, which I think is a little bit cleaner, or you can show the categories and the products. Right now I'm just going to show the categories, so I'm not going to check either of these. But I am going to make sure to save my product. Okay, so you can do this again You can do this as many times as you want. You can also import your products. You can import it from a CSV file, from Etsy, or from Shopify. Okay, if I was to continue, if I press continue there, I can see what a sample CSV looks like, or I could read some handy dandy instructions. So if you get stuck trying to import your products, go ahead and look up our resources because you aren't the only one in that boat. And again, we try to give you as many tools to success as we can. Okay, so if we head back to our dashboard, you'll see that number 2 is crossed off. All right. So not only have we added our store page, but we've already added a product. And like I said, you would keep adding products in your own store, unless you only had one, which is totally fine. And then number 3 is add store information. So the store information is what would appear on invoices to customers. Okay, let's go ahead and check that out. This again just guides you through the different processes or through the different steps you would need to add information. What kind of currency do you want? What's the weight that you want to use? What's the store mode? So is it add to cart or is it only buy now? You have some options here. Then you want to add your actual information that will appear on the invoice. So I will say the Cupcakery SF. I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4 Cupcake Lane, San Francisco. I'll say 94116. The state is California. Email, I'll just put my email in here. And I'll leave the phone number blank. You can also fill out a return policy and a shipping policy. So I might say no returns. Please enjoy those cupcakes. The shipping policy, I could say, shipping to California only. Whatever you want your return policy and your shipping policy to be, go ahead and add that. And just in general, the more information you can add throughout your store and just throughout your Weebly site, the better. You can also have a note to seller if you'd like. So this is where when a customer purchases your product, they can leave you a little note. Maybe they would say, no nuts if they have a nut allergy. I actually have a nut allergy, so I use this note to seller a lot, especially if I'm ordering food somewhere. Let's see, it looks like we have a little question. Oh, Linda says, will this webinar be available to see again? Yes, it definitely will be able to see again. We add our webinars to YouTube, and if you go back to the page where you registered for the webinar, you can see an older version of this webinar too. No worries. So you can have this note to seller turned off or turn on, whichever you want. We'll go ahead and leave it turned on. And then again, you always want to save. So let me just review, make sure we filled out everything we want to fill out, and save your settings. Perfect. Okay. So even within the store settings, we have a lot of different options here. We have different checkout options. We have our store display, which we'll go over in a second. We have shipping, which requires an upgrade. We have taxes, which also requires an upgrade. You can customize your emails. And then there's a little bit of advanced Google Analytics tracking, which we won't necessarily go over here. If I click back to the store dashboard, you can see that we have crossed out number 3. Pretty exciting, right? Super exciting. So let's go to number 4. We want to accept payments. So this is where you choose how to collect money from your customers when you make a sale. And this was under store settings and then checkout, which we were just under. Okay, so excuse me, you can use Stripe, you can use Square, you can use Authorize.net. Both of those you need to upgrade to the business package. And then we can also accept PayPal if you upgrade to the business package as well. So you have some options here. Excuse me. And you should see that we have kind of the pluses and minuses or the advantages and disadvantages to using each one of these options. One second. I just had to grab a drink of water. Okay, so once you enable whichever one you want to use, then I'm not going to do it now, but once you do that, this number 4 will be crossed out. So say that you didn't want to upgrade to business, you just wanted to connect to Stripe. You could either sign in with a Stripe account that you already have, or you can create a new Stripe account. If we wanted to create a new one, we could do so. It fills out things for you. You just follow this. You just follow it until it says that you are ready. So although we're connected to Stripe right now and I can now start accepting payments, Stripe actually needs us to provide some additional information. So you would want to go either to your email or follow this link to make sure that you're providing Stripe with as much information as you can. If I close that and go back to the store dashboard, you'll see that it looks a little bit different. Okay. Number 1, you won't see that getting started list anymore because we've checked everything off, which is super exciting. Great job for us. But now you will see a few other things. First of all, you'll see notifications. This is asking you to activate your Stripe account, which is what I was just talking about, checking your email, making sure that you're going through all the steps on Stripe's side so that you can actually receive those payments, which you want to do. You'll also see your store stats, which is really exciting. You can see immediately, it's kind of that immediate gratification that I was talking about before. You see your sales, you see how many people have come to your store, and you see your orders all right there. And you can check this out on a time scale of either today, yesterday, the past 7 days, or the past 30 days. Pretty exciting, right? Very exciting. So, now that we've kind of gone through that list, let's take a step back and make sure that our store is looking as good as it can. So let's explore these options a little bit. We already got the products page. We added a product. If you go to the storefront, you can add the categories. You can actually use the storefront page to separate your products into the categories. So let me add another product real quick. Care package. Okay, so again, I'm just giving a little bit of a description. I'm adding the price, let's say $50 for a care package. I want to add an image, so maybe I would do this one. Or maybe I would add another one. So maybe let's do this one or this one. Okay, and I am not going to add the category. Okay, I'm just going to save it. So now you see that I have 2 products and one is categorized and one isn't. If I go to the storefront or if I go to categories, I can see the different categories. If I go to storefront, I can select products and then I can select one of these or both of them to add under the categories. Okay, and once I do that, let's just go view the store. Okay, you'll see that I have my categories showing here. And then once I click into my categories, that's when you will see the products that I added to them. So I clicked on Cupcake Bundle, and you can see the holiday bundle there. I could also have the categories up here and then add the products if I wanted to. So they're both showing. I prefer a cleaner store, so that's why I just have these categories on there, but it's really up to you. And I encourage you to really experiment until you're satisfied with what your store looks like. You'll notice that it says your store is empty, add products. If you leave this, if you don't do anything with this, this won't appear whenever you publish your site. Just these will appear. Okay, let's go back. And I didn't save this, that's why they weren't showing up, so I'll do that. You can also change different parts of your store here, I can change the header just like I can on the Pages tab up here. I can change to show the categories or not. And then I have some advanced options for SEO. And again, if you are interested in SEO, I recommend checking out our SEO webinar, which we have one later today if you're interested. So let me go ahead and save that. And then let's go back to our store. And you'll see that now those products are showing in addition to the categories. Okay. So let's go back. And if you hover over one of these, you can directly add a product or edit your storefront. We want to go ahead and edit the storefront. So I'm going to remove these. And let's move on. Oops. Yes, I want to save it. Let's move on to categories. This is where you can create your different categories. So I just add category. You can name it. So if I were to add another cupcakery category, maybe I would say something like newest cupcakery flavors. And I could go ahead and add different products to this if I wanted, and I want to go ahead and add an image. So maybe I would add that image or this one. And then it gives you the option to add a header. So this is for the actual category page. I can have a header or no header. So I'm going to add a header there and save the category. And now you'll see that we have 4 categories. Okay, so if I go back to the store, you'll see that one more category has added itself here. And that my products are no longer showing because I took those off. Okay. So the next option here is coupons. Coupons, again, are part of the business package, but they are a great way to add flexibility to your store. And if you have the business package, I really recommend that you take advantage of those. One, you should note that customers are only able to use one coupon at a time. But you can make the coupon whatever you want. You can make them set by percentage off. You can make them expire or not expire. It can be, dollar amounts off. You have the ability to customize the coupons, which is really cool. If we take a look at orders, your orders will be listed here by order number, order date, the customer that purchased it, the status of the order, so whether it's pending, shipped, delivered, things like that, and then the total. You are also able to export your orders, which is really nice for your own record keeping. And then finally, we have store settings, which again, we had explored this a little bit before, but let's just go through it again. So we have the general store settings, which we filled out as part of our getting started checklist. We have checkout, which we went through to make sure that Stripe is connected to our site. Now let's go to display. Display is how you actually change what your storefront looks like. You saw, that our categories were in a column of 3 and one was hanging off. Maybe if you want something a little cleaner, I would click 4 categories so everything is on one. And you can change this to your preference. You can add different numbers of products to pages, different columns of products on the storefront, anything you want. You can also change the image ratios, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning. You want to make sure that you have images ready, and you want to make sure that your ratios fit the images that you have. So right now I have the product image on a 3x2 and a category image on a 1x1 square. But you can customize these to make sure that your products look the very best that they can. You can also change the category layout. So right now I have a block, but you can also use a sidebar, whichever your preference. And then finally, you have a legacy mode. So this is basically to turn back updates that we've done. So this goes back to the old product element design that we used to have. Again, we have updated and made improvements to the store, but if these improvements don't suit you, you can play around with this legacy mode and see if that is better for what you want. And always don't forget to save. Okay? Now shipping. Shipping is again part of the business plan, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and just tell you a little bit about it. You want to start by adding a location. You can choose either between a country or a region. You can also set a region as the rest of the world, which would really fine-tune a specific country. You can add a rate or provide a title or a price. So that's the price is the total price of the cart at checkout. Weight would be the total product's weight, which is determined by the product listing that you would have added in the individual product. Okay, so when setting your shipping range, be sure to follow precise delineations. Okay, so a price range would be, if you had a price range between $0 and $5, then the shipping would be $2. If the price range was between $5.01 to $10, the shipping price is going to be $4. So the more specific and the more regimented you can get with the shipping, the easier it's going to be both for you and the customer. So make sure that that's something you really think about before you start working on your shipping. And just know that the same rule applies to weight. You'll want your customer to fall distinctly on one side or the other of your price shipping range. Okay, you don't want there to be any kind of gray area when it comes to shipping. Okay, you can also use a tool called subregions, and these subregions allow you to micromanage an area. So, say that your large area was in the US and you wanted to have subregions, much like we do in the US. So maybe it would be East Coast, West Coast, the Midwest. You could split up these different subregions to make sure that you are getting appropriate shipping. For example, it is cheaper to ship something to California from Arizona than to ship to Pennsylvania from Arizona. Okay, so you wouldn't want to just give people the same shipping price for all of the US because we have different shipping rates in the US. So this subregions allows you, like I said, to kind of micromanage and make sure that you are making the smartest shipping decisions depending on where you are shipping your product. Okay? So, taxes in the business package. The number one rule for taxes is you need to check with a CPA just to be sure. So, much like the shipping, you don't want there to be any gray area in taxes. This should be as specific as possible, no room for error, no room for question. So, make sure that you consult a tax expert when you're working on taxes for your store. Really, you should only have to charge tax in a state where you have a brick and mortar or physical location. And when you are working with this tool, you'll see the add location button here. You can use a zip code, which automatically adds the state. You could set a uniform tax percentage across a state, and then you can also add variations of tax per zip code. Okay, but again, I cannot stress enough that please check with an expert and not just Google, but a real person, a real expert, to make sure that you are doing your taxes correctly. And then, of course, just like everything else, you want to make sure to save. Next, we'll go to emails. So this is where you can personalize the email that is sent to your customer automatically whenever they purchase an item. So you'll see the reply address is just my address. You can edit that to maybe like a no reply address or a specific email address that you just want to use for your store. But you can really customize all of these. These are all different emails. So there's an order confirmation email, a download confirmation if you add a digital good, a shipped email so that lets your customer know that their item is shipped, a refund email, and then a canceled email just in case they need to cancel their order. If we go to order confirmation, you'll see that we give you an email already, so you don't have to start from scratch. But you can customize a lot of this. You can customize this and say something like, "We hope you love your cupcakes." The cupcakery. Okay, and it adds that fun little note there. And then if you look down, you'll see the example of what this is going to look like. And then you can also add a footer message. So the footer message might be your contact information, whether it's your phone number, whether it's your physical location, or maybe it's just a quick thank you. And maybe I even want to make that a little bigger. I can edit it a little bit. I can format it. Okay, so you might just want to say thanks. You can also send a test email. So that allows you to send the email to yourself to make sure you really like what it looks like. Okay, if I go back, I can do that same thing for all of these different emails that kind of give you a good example of what these emails look like. Okay, I won't go through them all, but it's pretty self-explanatory. If you get stuck, just let us know. We're happy to help. And then we kind of buzzed through this before, but the Advanced tab, this allows Google Tracking Pixel to track conversions. Okay, we allow this because by and large, the checkout process is not customizable for security reasons, So if you add custom tracking here, you will be able to see the last place your customers touched. So maybe they're putting things in their cart, but they're not checking out. You would be able to see with this tracking the last place they were. And maybe from that data, kind of find out or make decisions about why people aren't completing their purchase. Although we don't necessarily have time to talk about this now, we do have a little bit of an explanatory blurb here. If you Google Analytics Tracking ID, there are a lot of resources out here. Also check out YouTube. There's a lot of different tutorial videos, but we do give you the options to add that tracking to the different pages. And as always, you would want to update changes to make sure that everything goes live. Okay, so that's about it. We went through everything. If you have any questions, go ahead and think about them. I'm going to take a drink of water and then I will be right back to answer any questions that you have. All right, cool. Thank you. Okay, what questions do we have? I guess I should also say to make all of these changes completely live, you would want to publish your store. So go ahead and click that orange button. And then if I follow this pop-up to the Cupcakery website, I can see that I now have a cart that people can use. And I also have a store page. So if I click on that store page, I can see all the work that we did. You can see now that these are listed by 4. If I went to the cupcake bundles, if I clicked on this again, this is what my product page would look like. So you can see it's very clean. You can see that it has my description here. It has some social sharing buttons, just in case someone wanted to share my item on Facebook, Twitter, or Pinterest. I can add multiples here, so maybe I want to add 2, and then I can add it to my cart. And you'll see here that it goes to the cart. Then, let's say I was ready to check out. I could go to the checkout. I could check my totals here. I could check out the shipping info and the return policy info. Remember when we added those before? And then I could either continue shopping or I could check out. Okay, so Linda asks, I want to offer a gallery of images for a given photo session. Do I have to give all the options in each individual images, or can I do that as a bundle? You are most certainly able to do that as a bundle. You can use 2 different things. You can use, let me go back to it. So if I were to add a product, it would be kind of like this bundle I have here. So I'm offering a range of things. and then you would just add the price, and then for the options, you could add those options here. So maybe the different options would be, you know, indoor, outdoor shoots, or I'm not sure which information you would need for the photo galleries, but you are more than welcome to experiment in bundling those in one. I would say if the different shoots have different prices, then you might want to have them each, you know, as a different option, but that's completely up to you. Okay. Does that answer your question, Linda? Yeah, we can certainly talk offline after the webinar. Feel free to email me at erin@weebly.com. It's ERIN at Weebly, WEEBLY.com. And I'm happy to answer your questions there as well. Okay, any other questions? I have plenty of time, so I can go ahead and hang out for a few minutes. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I can also keep showing you the store. So this is where we were in the shopping cart. If I went to check out, this is where my order summary would be, so I can see exactly what I've ordered here. I can add my shipping information, my billing information, and then if you remember, I added that option to add a note to the seller. So you don't have to fill this out if you're a customer. So it does denote that it's optional. And then I would click this, to complete my order. And you'll see that when you're on this page, you no longer see your cart. You just see the store. Okay. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, like I said, feel free to email me at erin@weebly.com. I'm more than happy to help with whatever you guys need. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I certainly enjoyed hanging out with you for the last 45 minutes. I know there's a lot of information here, so feel free to check on YouTube for our past store webinars, and feel free to check out our help center, which is hc.weebly.com. There's a lot of great resources for you there as well. And just a final reminder, if you are interested in SEO, search engine optimization, you are more than welcome to join us for our SEO webinar, which is just in a few hours. Again, if you go to hc.weebly.com, you should see the registration for that as well. All right, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, and happy building.